Hello and welcome. My name's Sam and this is The Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for joining me for Project 14 in our 25 projects countdown to Christmas. So we're doing a 12 by 12 gift bag. It's a single sheet. We're going to turn it into a gift bag. It is very difficult to show you on the video, but it's all the way around. It's a good size. It's got 2 ribbons, has handles, and the advantage of this is it flat packs. So if you make a few of them, you can keep them aside. That bit. You can keep them aside for when you're ready. So let me show you how to create this one. We are going to be using the Designer Series paper that comes from the Ornamental Moments. This is called Modern Christmas or Traditional Christmas. I will double check. It's the one we've been using this week, and we need 1 sheet of 12 by 12, plus I have 2 pieces of 13-inch long, both of them, white ribbon. And that's literally, apart from glue, is all we need, and our scoring tools. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab my scoreboard and we'll work from this. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our piece of paper facing the right way up, okay? And we are going to score 2 score lines. I'm going to get hold of my bone folder. I'm going to score 2 score lines, one at 3 1/4 inches. So there's a 3. And now obviously with paper you don't want to press too hard. This is gold, so I don't really want to go all the way through. So that's the 3 1/4, and then the other one is 8 3/4 inch. Okay, and that goes all the way down. Now this is where it's important. You have got your piece of paper facing upright. You now need to take it 1 turn to the right. So the top of your paper is facing to the right way. Okay, because we're going to create the base and the top of the bag. So the base here we are going to do at 2 3/4 all the way along. And then we are going to do one at 11 inches all the way along. Okay, so for the time being, we're just going to pop our scoreboard aside. And we are going to burnish our score lines. So we've got one here. And initially, we don't have to burnish them too hard, but as the paper gets thicker, we will need to. So making sure that our lines line up. Okay, so we've done that one. Now we can do it. So the top line is coming on back on itself because we're going to show, it's the lip, and we're going to show the paper on the other side. So you just want to burnish it gently. There we go. You can bring in your bone folder and just give it a little burnish. And then we're going to do the same on the other side, but this is our base. So where our score is, there we go. We're going to score along and burnish. Okay, so that's where we need to go so far. So the first thing to do is to glue down the lid. Now I'm going to use my tear and tape and put a tiny bit on each end. And then I'm just going to run a line all the way down. Okay, and then I'm going to ease it back over, making sure that everything lines up straight. So the edges line up. That's perfect. That one. So you've got the little line here, and it's going to line up with the line here. And then so you know your top of your bag is straight. So a quick burnish. So bring this back over, and you're just going to burnish the fold line at the top because it's now double thickness. I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. So fold that over, and you're just going to burnish at the top there. Okay, if you want to, you can go back. Right, so the thing we now need to do is to close the bag. So using your left hand, you're going to run yourself a tear and tape from all the way in the top, whoops, all the way down to the bottom. You can afford to do a second strip to go all the way across. Okay. Just making sure. Yep, you can. Right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull the backing off of the tear and tape. Oops, one. Didn't go all the way. Let's pick out this end. There we go. And then the second one all the way down. There we go. Pop those over there. So fold your corner back over, and then this is going to come over, making sure that your lid is lined up. You can then go all the way down to the bottom. So now you have a tube to grow in. We're now going to work on the base. So I'm going to turn it sideways because what I want to do is I want to bring that over and just burnish it once, not too hard, but just enough because to manipulate it, because what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in a second. Right, so we're going to open it up, and you're going to bring this corner, so this corner is going to lay flat. So you might need to just do it a little gently with your fingers, and you're making sure that the score line, which is this one here, lines up with the inside line. So you've got your score line here, and it runs parallel along the other base of the bag. And you're going to go over to there and then rock it over to your right. Okay, by doing that, it now brings this one down a bit further, so turn it round. Again, you can line up the lines like so. Yep, and then burnish. I'm going to take my bone folder, and I'm just going to reinforce these score lines on all four sides. Now, this line here represents the base of the bag. So you want to take this tiny corner and you just want to pop it over the line, not too far. You're just going to pop it over the line like so, and then you're going to create yourself a score line, a man-made score line rather than a scoreboard score line. You're then going to bring it over, and you're just going to add glue or stamp and seal over the top and press it down. So then this little point lines up. Okay, so that's that down, so you can burnish that. Now you're going to do the opposite way round and exactly the same. So this point just needs to come over, just over the edge of your baseline. So that's there. Okay, so when you're happy with it, give it a little push down, and you can reinforce it with your bone folder. You're going to bring that back and do exactly the same again. So 1, 2, and then you can bring that over like so. Okay, so you've now got your base created and your top created. So we now need to create the sides. So you could just fold it, but I have found that by simply placing my bag inside my score tool and going from the left hand side and doing 1 inch score line. I've just kept my home finger down, so it's a 1 inch. Just make sure it's gone all the way through. As you can see, it's there. You're going to turn it back over. So that's the left. You're now going to turn over to the front and do exactly the same again. So 1 inch all the way down to the end. Firmly, but not so that you push through the bag. So the thing to do now is to fold. So we're going to fold towards the back. So we're going to take that 1 inch and we're going to manipulate the paper so it has that 1 inch fold along the edge. Okay, again, you're going to burnish it with your bone folder. Okay, and then you're going to do exactly the same on the opposite side. So you're going to bring your 1 inch score line over, push it down, make sure it lines up, which it does, and then you're going to burnish again. Okay, because this is the middle of the sides of your bag, you need to turn it over and then bring your fold lines over. Okay, bring it down and reburnish it, and then bring it over and reburnish it. Once you've done it both ways, you can open your bag. You're going to put your hand in and bring the base out. Okay, so you've got your base here. You now can use your fingers to push the score line that you have just been burnishing inwards to your bag. Okay, so that's 1. Let's do it on the other side. Push that in. 2. Okay, so that pushes it in just like that. You have this score line here, which creates the base, and you can push it down. So what you're aiming for is the base to come this way, because this is the seam. Okay, and then you just push and push. Do the same on the opposite side. 1, 2. So that is the basis of the bag. So to create the handles now, I'm going to push open the bag. I just need the handles to be on the, not the sides, just the front and the back. So I've got a pointed tool. I have a sponge, and I'm just going to rest the bag onto the sponge, and I'm going to work out roughly where I want my hole to go. So I'm thinking about there, and I'm going to push it all the way through. I'm going to come out to the other end, just so that I make sure I get through. Okay, so that's one hole created. You now need to do the other hole on the other side. So you're roughly looking at the same lineup. So you're looking at about there. Okay, so straight down, give it a whole wriggle. There we go. And then pull it out. So you've now got 2 holes, one here, and then one here and one here. So if you hear that noise, I apologise. Bella has decided that she no longer wants to stay outside. She wants to join in, but she'll have to wait for the moment. Okay, she's managed to open the door. Look at that. Hello, Bella. Bang. And she's in. Okay, so we'll carry on. I'm going to pop this through, and what you're trying to do is you're going to push your ribbon through your hole. So again, you want to push your bag out like so, because we're putting the ribbon in now. So the first ribbon is, I'm just going to push it up a bit. I have another tool. The end of the pointed tool has got this little ball, so it makes it as if I'm not going to tear a hole in the ribbon. Hello, baby. You lie down for me. There's a good girl. So that's going to go through that hole, and you're going to push it through. There we go. and it's through, you can now create a knot at the end. Oops, let's try that, not quite as far down the end. There we go, to there. All right, and you're going to pull that through, and you're going to do exactly the same on the other side. I'm going to bring it here, fold it up doubly, use my pointy tool. There's my hole, push it through. Oh, let it come out. Try that again. So in you go, there we are. And then we can pull that through, and we can create the knot. There we are. So that's the easy side. Now we're going to do the difficult side. We're going to turn it over, and we're going to do exactly the same, but obviously we now need the handles to match the other side. So poke your first one through. Let's do that. Poke it through. A little thing to push it through. There we go. And push that through. You have to be quite tough with it because it's going through 2 layers. You're going to knot it. Okay, bring it down to the end and pull. Okay, so that's the easy section. This is where we need it to match up. So you've got this bit here. You're going to fold again over, push it through the 2 layers. There we go. Right, holding your handle, you're going to make it the same length as this one. So let's make sure we're going there. Okay, so now you know you're roughly at the right end. You can now create your knot on your last one. So let's pull it through, create the knot, not too tight. Do you like what I did there? Because you want to make sure that it is the same length as your previous one. There we go. All right, now you can pull your knot, and you have your 2 handles. You can fold in. Okay, now obviously you can cut these bits to make them a little bit tidier. There we go. So let's just snap that end, pull it through, do the same with that one. Okay, so once your handles are there, your points will be facing down, and then you can do the same on this one. Pull it out, cut, pull it out, and obviously we'll cut that bit up a bit more. Okay, let's move that all aside, and there we have our little gift bag. Oh, scrape that. A little gift bag for you that lays flat until you need it. Ooh, so thank you ever so much for joining me today. I hope you like the gift bag. We will be back tomorrow with our next one, so do join me then. Take care. Bye.